And so we come to my review of the second disc of the 1976 Elton John album Blue Moves, an album that Elton referred to as a blatantly uncommercial album. So we shouldn't be surprised that there weren't that many big single successes from it. He said it's full of fine songs, a very poignant album, and who could disagree with that? He likened it to the Elton John album, in my view, one of his very finest creations. He says there's lots of slow, romantic songs and some jazzy type tinges in them. We're going to review each of the songs on the album, giving it a mark out of 10 and finding an overall average mark for both this disc and the whole of the Blue Moves album. By the way, I'm indebted to this fine book called His Song, which is by Elizabeth Rosenthal, in which she goes through all of Elton John's albums up until about 2001, looking at the background to each one and how they were recorded. So I would recommend this book if you want a good read in detail about Elton's music. So now to the tracks. And to begin with, let's see if you recognise this introduction. That's the unmistakable intro of Sorry Seems to Be the Hardest Word, the opening track on this second disc. And this is one of the very first Elton John tracks that I heard and drew me to his music and led to me buying my first Elton John album, which was A Single Man. This was released as a single. It sold 1 million in the United States. It's got strings conducted by James Newton Howard and a lovely accordion accompaniment by Carl Fortina, giving it this kind of French feel. Interestingly, Elton composed the music first on this one, and he also contributed to some of the lyrics. And who can forget, what have I got to do to make you love me? What have I got to do to make you care? It's a heartbreaking song about lost love. It's really powerful. It's an accomplished, fantastic pop single that's really moving, a great vocal performance. And it's a vocal performance that Elton has moderated as his voice has changed. So this is still a good live song, even today, when Elton uses the backing singers to do that very high refrain. And he comes in with a lower harmony, which actually works really well, and it remains a powerful song in performance. There's been some cracking cover versions of this, and there's also a really good duet version Elton does with Ray Charles on this. So that introduction is so distinctive, and this ranks as one of Elton John's very finest recordings, and one of my own personal favourites. So for the very first time in my reviews, I'm going to give this 9 out of 10, and that signifies an excellent track. The second track on the album is Out of the Blue, another example of a quality Elton John instrumental. This gives us 6 minutes of what Elizabeth Rosenthal describes as chunky music. It's full of invention and diverse ideas, and it's pacey. It's interesting to listen to, and it's comfortable to listen to as well. It moves in a very expected and unexpected direction, I suppose we could say, and it really showcases Elton's skills as a writer of melody and harmony. It's never boring. For a while, it popped up as a television theme for real in Top Gear, and that's hardly surprising, really. So, a good start to this side, isn't it? We're going to give this one 7 out of 10. However, it couldn't last, could it? Because track 3 is between 17 and 20. Bernie Taupin's lyric here refers to a sense of betrayal in relationships, which was possibly something that he was going through at the time. Except it's an up-tempo ballad, and it's a very uneven track. Let me refer you to a much later Elton track, which is This Train, which is almost a perfect pop song. It's just a groove that's easy to listen to, and it's even, if you know what I mean. It's a complete song. Between 17 and 20 is jerky. Not pleasant to listen to. It's uneven. There's no hooks in it either, really. And frankly, the tune is pretty horrible, actually, and is one of my least favourite Elton recordings of all time. So this one we're going to award, I'm afraid, a 2 out of 10. Now we come to an Elton John curiosity, because track 4 is the Wide-Eyed and Laughing. We bring the sounds of the Far East into an Elton John album here. Not for the first time, but we do hear that sitar, which I think we heard on Blues for Baby and Me, I seem to recall. No piano on this one. It's about the disintegration of a relationship, and it has kind of a supernatural feel to it. It's an unusual but satisfying listen. And the only complaint I would have is that, again, we have a distorted Elton John vocal, which is not to my liking. Why distort a great voice? Anyway, a perfectly decent track, this one, and an interesting one, which I would rate as 5 out of 10. Track 5 has a suicide theme, so we're picking up again on that theme which appears in things like Someone Saved My Life Tonight. It's a strong lyric by Bernie. I don't know what the time is or what the next line is or how you're going to take the news. But if I had my life again, I wouldn't change a thing. There's a kind of a gospel-y feel to this one. It's quite a pared back track, mainly just vocal and piano throughout. And it tells again about the state of mind that Bernie Taupin was in, perhaps feeling lovelorn at the time he was producing the track's words for this album. This closes side 1, and we're going to give this one a 5 out of 10. So that side of the album scored 28 altogether, which is a perfectly good score, especially with those 2 opening strong tracks, a 9 and a 7 there. Let's move on to side 2. So track 6 is Where's the Shira? And this is another Elton John oddity, maybe a rarity as well. What's a Shira? Well, nobody's really sure what it is. It's some sort of nonsense word for a carefree life. People looking for some sort of spiritual harmony in their life. And it has that sort of gospel-y feel to it. As if it was almost a hymn, a kind of churchy atmosphere. There's even a harmonium being played on it by Elton, and there's a gospel choir brought in for the backing. This was part of the Rock of the Westies session, but wasn't used on that album. I feel this is quite a comfortable song to listen to. It creates a pleasant atmosphere. It's a good melody and harmony, and a reasonable opener, I would say, to this side. And I'm going to give this one a 6 out of 10. Track 7 poses the question, if there's a God in heaven, what is he waiting for? And this is one of the weakest tracks on the album. It's an attack on selfishness and wealth. It's posing that question, where is God with all the bad things happening in the world? It's all rather simplistic. It's all rather naive. We've heard everybody say all this thing before. And it's quite a disjointed medley and a somewhat unpleasant, ugly tune, it has to be said. Personally, I think this would have been best left on the cutting room floor, this one, and maybe aired somewhere as a rare B-side. So this one gets just 3 out of 10. Apparently, during a technical breakdown in the studio, Elton improvised a sequence of chords. And this became track number 8, Idol, which is about the downfall of a faded star, such as Elvis, perhaps. Bernie Taupin's lyrics, which he then wrote for this melody, are pretty good and include a description of this person as bulldog stubborn, born uneven, a classless creature, a man for all seasons. And then in this refrain, the 50s shifted out of gear. Yeah, good imagery, that. And Elton's music complements this really well. It's a moving song. It's obviously rather depressing, but the level of quality of the lyrics and the tune moving together and this kind of jazzy feel to it gives this a score for me of 5 out of 10. Track 9 is another instrumental. This time it's called The Theme from a Non-Existent TV Series. Is that Elton's longest ever track title, by the way? Maybe you can tell me in the comments below. Both Elton and Bernie get credits for this one. It's an inoffensive tune that maybe should have been the theme of an existent TV series. My only complaint about this is it's too short. We get 1 minute and 19 seconds of music. Let's have 3 or 4 minutes of this. Let's see where it goes. Some good ideas involved. Too many ideas for it to be shrunk down to such a short format. So because of that, we can only award this 3 out of 10. The album closes with track number 10, Bite Your Lip, Get Up and Dance. This has a real sense of a party song, fun going on in the studio, and a real rave up. This was the 3rd UK single from the album and reached the top 30 in both the States and UK. I've got a 12-inch version of this, which is backed up by a Kiki D song called Chicago. So nice recording that. It name checks several cities, Chicago, Los Angeles and Santa Fe. And it's got that great line in it, Illinois, Santa Fe, do what I say, which is just a great fun lyric, I think, and a very enjoyable piece of music, an uplifting one to end what has been quite a maudlin side of music. Some people have compared this to Saturday Night's All Right for Fighting. It's got the same sort of vibe, a little bit more chilled out perhaps, urging people to get up and dance, and why not? A good way to end this. It seems to go on a little bit too long perhaps, echoing that sort of Hey Jude anthemic type singing towards the end of a song, which goes on and on and on. But nevertheless, a fun piece of music and a strong verse, particularly on this one. We're going to give it 6 out of 10. So let's summarise that second side, and we've got a 6, 3, 5, 3 and 6, giving us a 23. So not quite at the standard of the first side, which was a 28. Overall though, for this disc, it scores 51 for 10 songs, giving it an average of 5.1. But we do have to then add on the scores from the first disc. Now the first disc came out at 50. That means the total score for the double album is 101, which we then divide between the 18 tracks, giving it an average score of 5.61 per track. Let's now take a look at the albums that I've ranked so far. And you can see that Blue Moves, only by 1/100th, has edged into the lead with 5.61 marks per track. Second is The Fox, then Too Low for Zero, and then Jump Up gets 4.5. So let's have a look at the song rankings so far of all the albums I've reviewed. And coming out on top at the moment is Sorry Seems to Be the Hardest Word, the only track so far to be ranked with 9 out of 10. And after that, a really good quality of 8 out of 10 songs, Legal Boys, Nobody Wins, Elton's song Tonight, Crazy Water. That would make a very entertaining playlist at any stage, I would say. Let's now look at the lowest ranked songs, and Blue Moves has about 3 entries at the bottom here. If there's a God in Heaven, the Non-Existent TV series, and then Between 17 and 20. Only 2 songs so far scoring 1 out of 10, and that's Heart in the Right Place and I Am Your Robot. So many thanks for watching. Please subscribe if you wish to, and I welcome your comments. Please feel free to disagree with me. We're all Elton John fans and have been inspired by his music for many years, and look out for my next album review. Thank you.